Hey guys, are you ready to transform your mind so you can transform your life? Coach Myrna brings you one-on-one coaching and expert guests weekly to help you to grow. Because happiness is the progressive realization of a worthy goal.
Looking for personal growth? Let's do it.
The right outfit doesn't just change how you look, it changes how you show up. There's something powerful about the way you show up in the world. That's why I'm excited to share one of my favorite discoveries with you, Quince. Quince is a casual luxury brand priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/TYM for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/TYM for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/TYM. All right. So for women listening right now who feels stuck in self-doubt despite doing all the right things, what is one perspective shift she can make today to begin transforming her inner dialogue?
So I would say, first of all, you say one, but I'm going to probably give you two. The idea that we, need to rely on other people and that we worry so much about what other people think. We get caught in that comparison game. Number one, nobody's really thinking about you. And I'm not saying in a negative way, but we're always so worried. Oh my gosh, what are they going to think? People are so worried about what's happening in their own lives that they're not looking at you and judging you all the time. They're just not, right? So we create these ideas in our head of like, oh my gosh, what's happening? The second part is understanding that there is not one person that doesn't struggle with something. So a lot of times we feel like we're so alone that, oh, I'm the only one that struggles with this. But as soon as you have a conversation, you realize that you're not, right? You realize that there are people who really want to help you, but you have to talk about what you're struggling with.
Welcome to the Transfer Your Mind podcast, where we learn how to shift our thinking, reclaim our power, and transform our lives from the inside out. Today's conversation is especially powerful for anyone who has ever struggled with self-doubt, felt invisible despite their accomplishments, or wondered if they were truly enough. My guest today is Simone Knego. Welcome, Simone.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have this conversation. Amazing. Let me give you guys a bit more information. Simone is an international speaker, award-winning author, TEDx speaker, and life coach who helps high-achieving women reconnect with their purpose and build unshakable confidence. She's the best-selling author of The Extraordinary Unordinary You, host of the globally ranked podcast, Her Unshakable Confidence, and her upcoming book, Real Confidence, dives even deeper into what it truly means to believe in yourself. Simone's message is both refreshing and liberating. Confidence isn't about becoming someone new. It's about changing the way you see yourself. From summiting Mount Kilimanjaro, what an accomplishment, to raising 6 children, her journey reminds us that strength is built from the inside, one belief at a time. So get ready for an honest, empowering conversation about mindset, identity, and how transforming your inner dialogue can change everything. So let's dive in. All right. The first question I want to ask you, Simone, is you often say that confidence isn't about changing who you are, but changing how you see yourself. Was there a specific moment or season in your life when that realization truly clicked for you?
100%. So I am someone who struggled for years with self-doubt. And when I was 42 years old, I never thought I was doing enough. I never thought I was enough. I thought everybody else had the perfect life and I was the only one that struggled. That was my thought process. When I was 42 years old, I was asked to do something completely out of my comfort zone. And I said yes. And that was climbing Kilimanjaro. And
Wow.
that really helped me change the way I saw myself, because for so long, I didn't think I could do things like that. I didn't think I was capable of so many different things. And that moment changed so many things for me, because I realized that I didn't need to worry about what anybody else was thinking. I didn't need to worry about what anybody else was doing. I needed to worry about how I could lead my best life. And that all had to do with changing the way I saw myself. So often we talk about, we need to change this about ourselves, we need to change this. And I truly believe it's how we see ourselves that really matters.
Wow. I didn't know people actually ask you to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. I thought it's a personal goal of yours that you want to do something. But um uh, I can imagine. I mean, who can have self-doubt or even fear? I mean, you conquer fear, you conquer self-doubt, you conquer courage, you conquer everything when you're climbing mountains. So that was amazing, of course. And if you accomplish it, even if you didn't get to the summit, the fact that you even started or even attempted it would change totally the way you see yourself. So, before I go on to my next question, so what happened on Mount Kilimanjaro? Tell us the story. Did you go to the top? What happened during the climb that made you realize that you're able to do hard things? What?
Yeah. So there were 16 of us. I didn't know anybody on the team. So we were actually raising money for the Livestrong Foundation. So a friend of ours had climbed it the year before with the same organization. And that was why he reached out. He actually asked my husband, and my husband said, no, thank you. Call Simone. And he did. And I said yes, because I knew I needed something different. I needed to get out of my comfort zone. Did I need to climb a mountain? Probably not. But, hey, that was the opportunity that was in front of me. So that's what I took. But yeah, I did make it to the summit. But during that time, there were, you know, so many times where I had that voice inside my head. I call it the what if whisperer. Oh, what if you don't make it? What if you're not capable? All these different thoughts that would come through my head. And, I just kept saying to myself, one more step, one more step. And, it's really about taking action. So often we think about the things we can do, but it's taking the action. It's not just sitting there waiting for something to happen. And the entire team made it to the top. And at the summit, I didn't have that much time to think about it, because, you're just trying to breathe. But on the way
Going back
down,
down.
yeah, on the way back down, there was definitely time to think about, okay, what just happened? And why have I been living my life in a way that I was so worried about what other people thought, or, like that I wasn't capable of doing certain things? And, it really changed my outlook on everything, that we're all capable of doing these things. We need to ask ourselves if we want to.
Hmm. That's amazing. That's amazing. I've read several books on climbing Mount Everest, and I'm very, very attuned with that experience. And at one point in time, I had the goal to just get to base camp, because
Mm.
that's a trek too. And I thought, I'll just go to Nepal and climb to base camp and things like that. But yeah, it's the books that I've read, and the guests that I've talked to that does these kind of things, they talk about the fact that yeah, fear and confidence and courage. And, sometimes, you climb in Mount Everest and you see people dead along the side, and you just keep going. It's because it's your goal to break through those limiting beliefs and break through those limiting thoughts, like you're saying you're not good enough and that you can do it. So that's amazing. So is that started your coaching career in your TEDx, or were you doing it before?
No, that all kind of led into my writing, my speaking, and not because of the Kilimanjaro story, but because of my mindset shift. I realized what I
Mm.
really love doing is helping other women change the way that they see themselves and help them realize what they're capable of. And so that's kind of where that journey began. So yes, people ask me to talk about Kilimanjaro, but that's not what my focus is on, helping women live without limits.
Oh, so that's your tagline. Live without
Live
limits.
without limits.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. Huh. Live without limits. Yes, you can do
Hmm.
it. Kilimanjaro, next Mount Everest.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So, after the climb, right, which happened in 2015, by the way, for a listening audience, what stories do you start to tell yourself after that? Is it the life without limit stories, or there's something else? And how do you use that experience to coach your clients?
Yeah. So much of what I learned during that time period is really how it was changing the way that I, not just how I saw myself, but how I talked to myself. I realized that the way I talk to myself, I would never talk to my best friend that way, right? I would never be so negative to my best friend, but I was doing that to myself. And so it's really about understanding that you are your own best friend. You're going to live with yourself forever. Do you want to be miserable or do you want to be happy? Do you want to treat yourself like crap every single day? No, the answer is no, you don't. So for me, it was so important to kind of change that behavior because for so long, I was not nice to myself because I was unhappy with myself.
Mm,
And so again, the way I work with women is kind of changing how they talk to themselves. That's like a big piece of it because
mhm.
so often we don't even realize that we're doing it. And I had a big call out for my daughter when she was 15 years old. She's now 23. She's actually the daughter that I co host my podcast with. And
Nice.
yeah, it's really fun. It's called Her Unshakable Confidence. And, the goal is to get her there quicker than I did.
Mm,
And so when she was 15 years old, I was getting ready for an event. I'm in my bathroom and I'm totally talking down to myself in the mirror. I can't believe you gained weight again. Like, why are you even going to this thing? You don't fit in your clothes. And I
mm.
don't think I even realized I was doing it. And she walked in and she said, Mom, you've got to stop. First of all, you're beautiful. Second of all, you're giving me a complex. How do you expect me to love my body when you don't even like your own?
Mm,
And it was a big wake up call because I don't think I even realized I was doing it. That's just what I did, right?
mm,
If someone gave me a compliment, I couldn't even say thank you. I was like, oh no, I don't think so. I couldn't accept anything positive about myself because I didn't feel positively about myself.
mm. Yeah, our kids are always watching, especially when you have girl children. So that was, and you're right. You probably thought you were saying it in your head, but you were saying it out loud. So she heard
Hmm.
you.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So, that she did, obviously you changed and she didn't grow up with a complex and now she is.
Fortunately, I did. But again, I think for so many of us, we don't even realize that we're doing it. And so that realization of not only was it affecting me, but it was affecting the people around me was huge for me because, I have 6 children. Do I really want to mess all of them up already? No. That'll come later. That'll come later.
Yeah, I saw that. Yes, I saw that with the 6 children. So is she your eldest?
No, she is my youngest biological child. So we have 3 biological kids and then we adopted 3 children. So
Oh,
she
okay.
she should have been my youngest, but she's the messy middle as she calls it.
The messy middle. All right. So
Yes.
that's great. Okay. So, all right. So let's talk about confidence now. Many women confuse confidence with achievement, approval, and or perfection. How do you help women separate their self-worth from their accomplishments or rules?
Yeah. So confidence is a skill, hard stop. It's a skill that you build, just like going to the gym and working out and building muscle, just like learning a different language, it doesn't happen overnight. It's something that you work on every day. So mindset is an important skill to have. And so the achievements, yes, do we feel good about them? But if we're only focused on that, then we're never going to get to the place that we really feel comfortable when we have failures, right? So
Mm,
when you build confidence, you understand that failures are a stepping stone, right? They're part of success. They're not, mutually exclusive from success. And so that's why I think that it's something that we need to work on every single day. And a lot of times we look at other people and say, oh, they're just so confident. A lot of times they're not, right? A lot of times people perform confidence. And that's what I did for years. I pretended that I was really strong and that I had it all together. And I didn't. It's like one false move and it would have all fallen apart. But, it took me a long time to realize that do I really want to wake up every day pretending to be something that I'm not? When I'm struggling with something, I want to be able to say it out loud and say, this is what I'm struggling with, instead of pretending everything's okay all of the time.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Summer is all about keeping things simple, comfortable, and stylish. That's why I love investing in timeless pieces that I can wear again and again. And that's why I love Quince. They make elevated essentials using premium materials like European linen, organic cotton, and washable silk without the traditional retail markup. Quince's 100% European linen pants, dresses, and tops are pieces you'll reach for all summer long. They're lightweight, effortless to style, and start at just $32. I recently paired a blue and white linen pants with a white linen top. I was impressed with the perfect fit, and the casual luxury had everyone complimenting me on my look. Every good outfit needs accessories. Quince's beautiful 14-karat gold jewelry adds a subtle finishing touch. Simple hoops or delicate chains make even the most effortless outfit feel intentional. Make your summer wardrobe feel easier. Go to quince.com/TYM for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/TYM for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/TYM. When you think about confidence, a lot of times we think it's something that you wear. So you step out and you look fabulous, right? You're happy with your body, you're happy with your makeup, you're happy with your face, you're happy with what how you look, right? And it gives you confidence. But a lot of times, even the most beautiful supermodel, right, doesn't feel confident inside. It feels like, oh, I got a mole hair and everybody's seeing it, or they go and they zoom in on their flaws, but that's external confidence. So I'm glad of what you're talking about. You're talking about the confidence that comes from maybe doing a good job, the confidence that comes from um uh, you know knowing that even if you fail, it's not because there's something wrong with you, it's because the environment or something, right? Is that how you're framing it?
Yeah, I mean, just because you failed at something doesn't make you a failure, right? It is a learning experience. But so often we take it so personally that we're like, oh, I'm a failure. I can't ever try that again. And it's completely the opposite, right? I mean, you have to feel all the feelings, right? So if you make a mistake, you have a bump in the road, I'm not saying, oh, just stuff it down. Absolutely not. Like, take that moment and say, oh my God, that was horrible. Like, I was embarrassed, whatever it was. Okay, how are you going to move forward next? Because now it's in the past. You got to pick a moment. So for me, I always say that whatever happens, like, feel all the emotions and then pick a day and move forward, because otherwise you can be stuck there forever. And growth happens when you're willing to accept failure, right? When you're willing to take action, when you're willing to make changes, because, otherwise you're just stuck in the same place all the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, you got to move forward. You got to do the work. Seems like every time I come on the podcast now, I'm quoting Byron Katie, the work, because nothing happens, unless you do the work. So yes, you've got to do the work. If you failed at something and you feel like shit, and your confidence is gone, and you're, scared to try something again. Yeah, I was listening to something recently, or I think it was my last guest actually, and she was saying that, um, let's say that someone is in the dating world and they go out with a guy, and the guy ghosts them, doesn't call them back, and she's someone else tells her to um, hey, move on. That's the world that we live in. Guys don't have to call you back or whatever. So, but that person feels that, you know, the if bringing it to this conversation, that person would feel that, she doesn't have confidence. Men doesn't find her attractive, and it might make her not want to put herself back out again because nobody wants rejection, right? So in your case, you're saying, hey, it's the same thing. Failure is part of the conversation. We learned that in nursery school. You got to kiss a lot of frogs before you get to the prince, right? So you've got to go through, you got to go through the process. But yeah, but it's a hard thing to do when you get rejected or you fail. It's a hard thing to do to pick yourself back up and say, this is part of the process, right? So, yeah, give us an example of someone picking themselves up back and saying, this is part of the process.
Yeah, I'll first I want to touch on what you just said about the idea of, for example, that relationship example where, they just ghosted them. What I love to talk about is that when someone makes a choice like that, it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with that other person, right?
Yeah.
So you can't take it personally. It's just, I just also remember when my kids were in school and there was a kid that was bullying them. It has nothing to do with the person's that's getting bullied. It has all to do with the bully. And a lot of times that person is really struggling with something. And so that's the way they take it out. So again, you have to separate yourself from that and say, okay, that it's not about me, it's about them. And I think it's true, for example, a client of mine at work where she constantly had somebody who was dumping the work on her, right? Like, oh, you're below me. You have to do these things. And, she had to set boundaries. And so that was a big confidence piece to say, that's not my job. Like, again, this is not my job. This is if you'd like me to show you my contract, this is what I'm assigned to do. And you bringing your work to me, I'm not going to do it because that is not my job. And it took her a while to get there. But when she did, the guy who kept doing it was like so shocked that she stood up
Yeah.
for herself. And I think he
Yeah.
actually did respect her after that because he stopped asking, or he stopped dumping, I should say. And she was like, oh my gosh, it actually worked. But we're so worried what's going to happen. What's going to happen is that you're not going to take shit from people anymore. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're gonna set some boundaries, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And when you're talking about bullies, standing up to them, they're always so shocked because they
Yeah.
expect you to cower. And when you stand up to them, they're like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. And again, I think if you remind yourself that it has nothing to do with you, it has to do with the other person, then you're like, oh, wait, okay, this is not this is not a big deal because so what? They are not going to call me back. That's their problem because I know my worth. I know my value. I know I'm an amazing person. And, they choose not to want to be around me. That's their choice.
Yeah. So how do you teach your women to get there to that
Yeah.
point? How do you
So,
teach them to have, unshakable confidence?
yeah. So, from my experience on Kilimanjaro moving forward, I really looked back to see, okay, how did I change the way I saw myself? How do I go into situations now where, yeah, I might be a little scared and I do it anyways? And so I created what I call the REAL method, which stands for respect yourself, embrace your failures, ask yourself what you want, and live without limits. And I started with self respect because I think it's the foundation to everything that we do. I remember as a child being taught to respect my elders, my peers, but never
Right.
once do I remember being taught that the most important person to respect is myself,
Is yourself.
right?
Yeah, true.
So,
True.
boundaries, self care, the way you talk to yourself, those are all part of self respect. And, again, treat yourself like you would your best friend. You wouldn't talk shit to her. So, why would you do it to yourself? You deserve better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, that's how I work with women on building, confidence again, because it is a skill. It's a skill that you build. And if I can share a little mindset hack that I like to use, because
Of
we all
course.
have that voice that will come into our head, like I said, the what if whisperer. And it's a very creative title. It's called Control Alt Delete. Okay,
Wow.
Back in the day, it was how we would reset a frozen computer. Now it
Yes,
brings
I
up
still do
task.
it today.
Yeah, now it brings up task manager. It's a little bit different now, but
Right.
so control is about, and sometimes our minds freeze too, right? We get stuck in that comparison game, we spiral in self-doubt. So control is about awareness, right? What is the story that you're telling yourself? Is it real? Is it helpful? Most of the time, the answer is no. There's lots of studies about negative thoughts, and one of them comes out of Canada, and they found that we have 6,200 thoughts every day. 85% of them are negative, 95% are repetitive. So day after day, the same negative thoughts on repeat.
Right.
Okay. So the second part is alt, which is alternative. Tell yourself a better story. Your thoughts become your reality. Your words become your reality. If you're constantly telling yourself you're not good enough, you're never going to feel good enough, right? So
Right.
instead of saying you can't do something, yes, you can. Watch me, right? Instead of saying that, instead of asking, what if I fail? How about when I succeed, right? The more you
Mhm.
say it, it's not about
Mhm.
faking it until you make it. It's about saying it until you become it. And finally,
Nice.
delete the habits and beliefs that don't serve you. Delete the comparison game, delete the belief that you're not enough, delete the idea that you need to wait until you feel ready. That's one of the biggest things I hear from women. Oh, I'm just going to wait until I feel ready. Waiting until you feel ready is like waiting for IKEA instructions to actually make sense. It is not going to happen, right? Do the things you think you can't. So
Right.
anytime I'm struggling with a negative thought or something that I feel overwhelmed by, I think Control Alt Delete. Like, is this real? Because most of the time we're making up a story
Yep.
that, and we stop ourselves from doing things because we believe this story when the story has nothing to do with reality.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, circling it back to, the analogy that I use with the girl that is afraid to date because of rejection. Right. Yeah, you gotta control alt delete that story. You're right. It's him, it's not me. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm beautifully and wonderfully made. Yeah, and that's your alternative thought. And then, you delete what maybe change the way that you're approaching dating. So delete your old patterns and maybe shift to something else. So if that one thing is not working for you, then and then change it. So that's good. Yes, these are all nice hacks, and I love your real analogy too. Yeah. So there's ways to make things simpler. There's ways to remember. There's ways to hack your mind when something is coming up instead of spiraling. Yes, there's so I love your analogies and your little biohacks.
Thank
Amazing.
you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. All right. So in your book, The Extraordinary Unordinary You, I like that title as well.
Thank you.
You challenged the idea that we need to become more to matter. Why do so many high achieving women still struggle to believe that they're already enough? And that's one of the first things. We're both life coaches. And one of the first things that I recognized when I became a life coach was that people can be very successful. They've checked all the boxes, but they're still feeling unfulfilled. I'm not sure if they're not feeling enough, but they're feeling unfulfilled. And I've learned now why, because a lot of people talk about it. A lot of people talk about where fulfillment comes from. In fact, I was just listening to one of my favorite guys right now, Myron Golden, just this morning, and he was talking about creation. And if you're not creating anything, then you can't be fulfilled because God created. The first thing He did was create. And you need to be create. You need to be. I've heard people talk about the fact that you need to be make a contribution. If you're not making a contribution, then you're not going to feel fulfilled. So, what have you found in what do you talk about in your book, and how do you help women that you coach that are high achieving, that's checked all the boxes, and they're still, you know, I'm not sure if they're still not confident, but they definitely feel that they're not good enough and they're not fulfilled.
So my first book, I talk about a lot about the little things that we do every day. We always like to give credit to people who make huge things happen, right? That we look at big philanthropists, we look at celebrities, we're so focused on what's happening in society, but we don't look at the little things we do every day, right? The way you talk to someone on customer service, right? That's huge. You have no idea how you can impact someone with the words that you say, with your behaviors. And those are the things that really do change the world, right? You walk into a Starbucks and you just scream out your order, or do you ask the person how their day is going?
Mm-hmm.
Most, I would say 90% of the people do not do that. So when that happens, people are like, oh, are you really asking me that? I remember being on a call recently and I asked the guy how his day was going. He's like, are you talking to me? I was like, yes, I'm talking to you. He goes, I don't think I've ever had someone ask me that. I was like, are you kidding me? And he's like, no, like people call and they want to complain. And so
Mm-hmm.
those kind of things where little things you do every day can really be life changing for yourself as well. It's not just for the people around you, but for yourself. And when so I talk in that book, I'm talk about our adopting our youngest three kids, and we talked about Kilimanjaro a bit, but it really is about realizing what you're capable of and recognizing that the little things you do every day matter. When you talk about not feeling fulfilled and also not feeling like you're enough, I think we rely so much on external validation when the only validation we really need is from ourselves. And so when we feel comfortable in our own skin, and that's really my definition of confidence, is feeling comfortable with who you are, no matter who you're with, who you are, where you are, no matter who you're with. And, I think that's key because so much of our world right now, when you look at social media and societal pressures, it's all about that external validation, like taking a selfie, posting the selfie. Am I pretty enough? And there's a reason why, especially younger people really struggle with looking at themselves in the mirror. It's like 78% of girls, by the time they turn 17 are unhappy with their bodies. Well, because what they see on social media is, the shiny moments, and that's not reality, right? I mean, there's a reason why there are a range of clothing sizes because we are all unique, right? I mean, so,
No one wants to be in the top ones, you feel embarrassed about it. Yeah, so everybody wants to be the model sizes. And yeah, and that perception has been, exploited by the magazines and the models. But there I think there's a shift happening. You're seeing much more plus sized women on magazines and in ads. They're starting to encompass everybody. But yeah, the 90s, or before, I mean, everybody wanted to be, 5'11", size 2.
yeah. And, it is what you just said is really interesting because the idea that we even call it plus size, right?
Yeah.
It's actually regular,
Yes.
right? So, and it's always interesting to me when we look at, like, when my oldest son was younger, he was a big kid, and when you went to buy him clothes, you had to buy him husky. Like, did he feel good about himself? No, because I have to
No,
buy
that
the
is
husky size.
husky,
How
right?
about
Yes.
regular? Like, it's regular clothing for regular people, and
Yeah.
it shouldn't.
Yeah.
We have all these terms that we like to qualify people with, and I think that's one of the reasons that we're always searching for external validation, because we never feel like we're enough, because society says, oh, if you're a little bit different, then you don't fit in, and that's so not true.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly what's going on right now, right? The story you tell yourself, if you got to buy a plus size, is that, yeah, there's something wrong with me. If I got to buy a husky shirt, that means something is wrong with me. And it's the messaging that comes from that you soak up, and then you soak it up, and then it comes out in other ways. So, yeah, I mean, then you have a failure, right? Which is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, oh, I have this failure because I'm a nobody, or, you know, um, uh, I'm thinking of a word that, my husband used to say, a lot, which is not a nice word, but you know, but for a long time he would say that about himself. He's changed a bit now because his confidence is growing. So yeah, you feel you internalize and talk to yourself, just like you're saying, you know, you wouldn't tell somebody this word, but you talk about it about yourself, you know?
Yeah. Does
Right.
that make any sense, right?
Yeah,
No, it doesn't. Like, so again, we have to become aware of that and say to ourselves, like, why do we treat ourselves like crap? Like, there is no reason we should. We are all amazing humans. We are capable. We can do all of these different things. We just need to give ourselves credit for the things that we're already doing.
yes, yes, like you said, remember it as the small things. And you know, circling back to relationships, I've had, you know, ex-boyfriends come and tell me some things about the small things that I've done for them that you wouldn't even think that they noticed, but they
Mm,
remember it. So it's the small things in everything, the small things in your job that your boss notices, the small things in your relationship that your partner notices, the small things in your children that they notice, and the small things that you do for yourself that you should notice.
hmm Yeah, I will tell you. So I've been married to my husband for 32 years, and
Oh, nice.
every day he will call on his way home and he'll say, "How can I make your life better?" And,
Kidding.
yeah, no, I mean, so he's been doing
Beautiful.
that for years. And, it's always a reminder, even if I'm like frustrated with him, I'm like, yeah, you can make my life better. Yeah, go
I
get this.
love it. And I hope you
Yeah.
give him something
Yeah.
because normally, again, with the confidence and not accepting compliments and stuff like that, most people would say, I'm okay, honey. Thanks for
Yeah.
asking.
Yeah. I'm like, you know what? I could really use a coffee. You want to go get me a
Yeah,
coffee?
you
Or do you
say
want to go?
nothing.
I don't feel like cooking. How about takeout? And he'll go and do it because,
Well, that's
it's
the thing.
yeah.
Yeah. And I bet you any money, if you had brushed him off in the first year or something, it wouldn't be still going 32 years later. So you're
Yeah.
smart enough to appreciate that and value it and respond because again, women that have no confidence don't accept compliments.
No.
Don't accept nice things, right? They feel that they're not worth it. So they might say things like, "Oh, that's okay, honey."
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Those two words were the hardest thing for me for years was when
Mm,
someone said something nice about me to be able to say thank you instead of brushing it off or saying,
right.
no, that's not right, or no, I don't think so. It's like, oh, you want to do something nice for me? Yes, that'd be great. Here, this is what I need right now. And I've realized
Yes.
too,
Mm,
this is something that I learned from my kids is that instead of saying I want, they say I need. And I think need is such a powerful word when you think about it that way. So yeah,
mhm.
um, can I do something for you? Yeah, I need you, like because that feels like they
Do
they
this.
feel like,
Yes.
oh
Yes.
yeah, thank
Mm,
you. You need me. Okay, great. Yeah, I'll take care of it for you.
yeah. Well, that's
Words matter.
beautiful. Yes, that's beautiful. Yeah. Great conversation. All right. So for women listening right now who feels stuck in self-doubt despite doing all the right things, what is one perspective shift she can make today to begin transforming her inner dialogue?
So I would say, first of all, you say one, but I'm going to probably give you two. The idea that we, you know, need to rely on other people and that we worry so much about what other people think. We get caught in that comparison game. Number one, nobody's really thinking about you. And I'm not saying in that in a negative way, but we're always so worried. Oh my gosh, what are they going to think? People are so worried about what's happening in their own lives that they're not looking at you and judging you all the time. They're just not, right? So we create these ideas in our head of like, oh my gosh, what's happening? The second part is understanding that there is not one person that doesn't struggle with something. So a lot of
Mm,
times we feel like we're so alone that, oh, I'm the only one that struggles with this. But as soon as you have a conversation, you realize that you're not, right? You realize that there are people who really want to help you, but you have to talk about what you're struggling with. And,
mm.
and self-doubt, I mean, 80% of people struggle with low self-esteem. You are not alone. And
Is the
understanding.
number is that high? Wow,
Yes,
that's a high
yes,
number.
it is a high number.
Mm,
And so, understanding that there are things that you can do. Again, that confidence is a skill. It's not something other people have and you don't. It's something that you work on every day. So tomorrow morning, when you look in the mirror, you talk to yourself like you would your best friend. You say something nice to yourself, right? Positive affirmations are huge for me. And if you would have asked me 15 years ago, I would have said, oh my gosh, that doesn't work. Yes, it does. It really does. I mean,
Yeah.
the way
Yeah.
the way you talk to yourself really becomes your reality. And so if you wake up every morning talking about everything negative, you're going to feel negative all day long. Try
Yeah.
it, and don't do it one time and say, oh, it didn't work. No, it's a practice. It's a habit. You have to keep doing it so that you really can feel it. You really can experience it. But tomorrow morning, when you wake up, start saying positive things to yourself. You're not going to love everything about yourself. That's not how it works. But
Yeah, but find something you like, right?
yeah, instead of
Hmm.
looking in the mirror and saying, oh my gosh, like, oh, look at my wrinkles and look at this. No, look at
Right.
something and say, wow, I have beautiful eyes, right?
I was just about to say that because most people can say that they have beautiful eyes.
Yeah.
A lot of people have beautiful eyes,
Yeah.
right?
Start there and then move
Start there.
forward instead of finding all the negative things. Because you could do that all day long and you could be stuck there. And,
Right.
it's your choice. Do you want to be happy? Do you want to be miserable? You have choices every single day. I'm going to choose to be happy, and I'm going to choose to talk to myself like I would someone I love.
Yeah, it's great. And affirmations, some people say they don't work because when you say them, you don't believe them. And that means you're sending a message to your brain. And then some people think that it's good because it sets you up in a positive way. And sooner or later, you're going to start to believe the things that you're saying. So, I mean, I do believe that what you're saying, that, yeah, start with saying something nice to yourself and not pick something that you know you're lying about, but find something nice.
Yeah.
And sooner or later, you'll find more things, right?
Yeah. And I mean, again, when you talk about affirmations, look at professional athletes, look at, Olympic athletes. The way they talk to themselves is to build themselves up. They don't go out there and say, well, I'm really going to fail this beam routine
No,
today. No,
no, they
they're
say
going to
I'm
say,
the best in the world. Yes,
yes,
you're right.
I've got this. I've got this, right? Or
Yes,
you've
I've got
got
it.
this. Some
That's
people
right.
say first person, some people say third person, but
Mhm.
they don't go out there and say, well, I'm going to fail miserably today, right?
No,
They
that's very
they
true. That's
they
very
build
true.
themselves up, and it works.
Yes,
There's actually tons of research on it that
it
how
shows.
how much
Yeah.
it affects how you move forward.
Yes, that's very true. That's very true. Right. Some people think they're cocky, but that's the way you have to believe. You've got to believe that you're the best. Else why bother participating?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And
You got to believe you can do it. Yep.
absolutely.
Yes. Amazing. All right. So we're getting to the end of our conversation today. So can you tell our listeners how they can connect with you? You can talk about your podcast, your website, your social media handles.
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is SimoneKnego.com, SimoneKnego. And social media is pretty much everywhere as Simone Knego. I think on Facebook it's Speaker Simone Knego because my personal page is Simone Knego. My podcast is called Her Unshakable Confidence. You can find it anywhere that you find podcasts, listen to your podcasts. And my new book, Real Confidence, A Simple Guide to Go from Unsure to Unshakable, comes out February 17th. And you can find that at realconfidencebook.com. There's a bunch of pre-order bonuses. I don't know when this episode's coming out, but the bonuses will probably still be up there even after the launch, just so that if people want them, they can have them for a couple of months. And I think that's it. You can find me out there. I'm happy to help. Like, reach out to me. Tell me what's going on in your life. And I just started in February. I'm starting a group coaching program as well. So the Confidence Collective.
Nice. Okay, awesome. I missed the website for the book. Is it Real Confidence what?
Realconfidencebook.com.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, I will have all these links, and this episode will air after February. So, yes, you guys can just go buy it on Amazon and, still get, some of the things that Simone is offering for free on her website. But I will have all the links in the show notes. So, as we wrap up, Simone, I want to thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your heart, and your powerful perspective with us today. This conversation is such a A powerful reminder that real confidence doesn't come from perfection or approval. It comes from learning to see yourself clearly and compassionately. To anyone listening, if today's episode resonated with you, I want you to encourage yourself to pause and reflect. What story are you telling yourself about who you are? And is it time to change it? Because when you transform your mind, you truly transform your life. Be sure again to check out Simone's best-selling book, The Extraordinary Unordinary You. Listen to her podcast, Her Unshakable Confidence. And you, by the time this episode airs, you'll be able to pick up her new book, which is called Real Confidence. And I'll link out to it. Follow her on Instagram or Facebook at Simone Knego.com. Messed up her name, but it's Knego. And Facebook, she said it's speaker. All those will be linked out on the show notes. So, Simone, thank you for being on the show. Any last words before we wrap up?
I'm just going to remind you that you don't need to change who you are. You need to change the way you see yourself.
Of course. Yes, 100%. I agree with that. Thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of Transform Your Mind so you can transform your life. This was a perfect episode to showcase that philosophy and that label. Thanks again for tuning in. Thank you, Simone. Until next time, namaste.